What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with another Mariners post game recap. I didn't like talking about losing yesterday. I don't think you guys liked it. Let's talk about a win again today. How does that sound? The Mariners defeat the A's 5-4. Gonna dive into all of it. Before I get started, if you guys can do me a favor, I am 21 subscribers away from 2,200, 2,200. Hit that subscribe button for me if you're new. If you guys can hit the like button as well, that just gets the video out to more people. Lets YouTube know you're enjoying the video so other people may enjoy it as well. And a huge, as always, thank you to every single person that is subscribed, watches these videos. It has been so much fun to do these. No matter what, this has been the most fun I've had in a baseball season. Starting this channel, interacting with all of you. I feel like we're all kind of just in this together, you know what I mean, for this season. And it's been a heck of a ride. It really has been. So let's get into the game that the Mariners win 5-4. First and foremost, it was not pretty. This was not their best win this season. This was not really their best series this season. But they won the series. They had a 5-1 homestand. They stay, I believe, in a tie for first. At Boston's 2 outs away from losing to Houston. They maintain their 4.5 game lead on Toronto for a playoff spot. I know I feel like I say this every video, but there are no pictures on the scorecards anymore. They got a W. They won a series that they had one of the best pitchers in the American League scratched yesterday and had to put in a spot starter. They had arguably the best player in baseball, at least for the last month and a half. Julio Rodriguez missed 2 games. And they came out of this homestand 5-1. Sign me up for that anytime, any day. Like I said, this game was not one that I'm going to put in the baseball Louvre, but they found a way. They found a way when they didn't play their best baseball to get a win. And when you play 162, that's going to happen. If this team was 6 games under, I probably would say, yeah, cool, they came back and won. But they've earned the right to win these type of games. They've earned the right to have a performance that's not that great, but they found a way. It's a credit to the what's the word I'm looking for, sort of the moxie of this team. It's a credit to the coaching staff to keep this team upbeat and keep going. This kind of looked like it might be one that got folded in a little bit, and they didn't. They rallied back, and they got the win. Really tough road trip coming off. Really good time for a day off. I think that the team isn't playing its best. God, it sounds crazy because they just had their best month in franchise history. It's another thing. They just completed a 21-win August as well. But I still think it's a good time for a day off. They weren't quite as good this series, or at least the last 2 games. Gives Julio another day to rest up. Gives Ty another day to get his rest. I know he played, but another day to heal up. Gives the bullpen guys some rest. Gives George Kirby an extra day's rest. And it sounds like Kirby will pitch in New York, which when it's all said and done, it actually probably works out okay for this team. Because now you get Logan, Kirby, and Castillo going in that series against the New York Mets this weekend. So let's get into it. Let's dive into the victory here. Start with the pitching, as I always do. Bryce Miller, 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, no walks, 5 Ks. Gave up that home run to Lawrence Butler. It's really hard to judge pitching performances against Oakland. I thought Brian Wu looked really good on Monday. I thought Luke Weaver, probably against anybody else, in the league, I would have said, for a spot start, it was actually okay. Against Oakland, it was kind of bad. 6 innings, no walks, 5 Ks is solid. That's a nice performance from Bryce Miller. He bounced back after that second inning. All 3 runs were scored in the second. Kind of your typical Bryce Miller start. Gives up a home run in there. The fastball's pumping really well. He's getting some strikeouts. The control command is good. Or I should say the control's good. Sometimes I think the command isn't quite as good. So I can't be mad at it. I'll take that for Bryce Miller all day. I'll take that start. You'd like to not give up 3 runs against Oakland, but every team's going to get their runs. Every team is going to get their hits somewhere. So all in all, a good performance and a nice job by Bryce Miller. He deserves some credit after giving up those 3 runs in the second to go 6 innings. Helps save the bullpen a little bit, allows you to go to your elite arms the rest of the game. So a nice job there by Bryce Miller. I'll take it. I'll take it. I don't think he was necessarily at his best, but I think for your number 4, number 5 guy, sign me up for that any day of the week. Justin Topa actually ends up getting the win. He gave up a couple hits and an earned run. Of course, the first time Topa gives up a run since it feels like June is against the Oakland Athletics. That was definitely a little annoying at the time because it's just the A's would not go away. But it was, let's see, Aledmus Diaz hit a double, and Esther Ruiz hit a double down the line, which scored a run. Topa hung that slider a little bit to Ruiz. Diaz went down and actually I thought got a pretty decent pitch, just went down and got it. It happens. I still have the utmost faith in Justin Topa. It's why you want multiple guys in the pen. It's why you have Spire, Brash, Saucedo, Munoz, because every now and then someone's going to be awful, but no worries about Justin Topa going forward. It just was a little frustrating that was the team that he has to give up the run against. Matt Brash with a nice eighth inning, kind of your prototypical Matt Brash inning. Strikes out Galoff on 3 pitches, looks fantastic. Throws 4 pretty uncompetitive pitches to Brent Rooker and walks him. Gets Seth Brown to ground out. That at-bat scared me a little bit. Brown against a righty, one of those sliders hangs up a little bit. He goes down and gets it. But he does a nice job, gets him to roll over one, and then strikes out a pesky Tony Kemp. Tony Kemp's been really bad this year, but still a pesky hitter that can put one in play and beat it out with the speed. Brash gets him to strike out. So kind of the full Matt Brash experience there. Not a lot of hard contact, a walk, and then the strikeouts. Really nice ninth inning from Mondres Munoz, 1-2-3 with a strikeout. Still don't think he has quite the feel for the slider. He did throw one really good one. Who led off that ninth inning? Langoliers. He threw one, I think it was to Langoliers, that looked really good. It had some nice bite to it. It was one of the better sliders I've seen from him in a while. And listen, that slider's his best pitch. He hasn't quite, if it just feels like he doesn't have the feel for it. The fastball's been pumping in really nice. I did a video on Andres Munoz last week or earlier this week. Go back and watch it. Talk about him being just fine. Has he been as good as 2022? No, but he's still been a really good reliever this year and a nice, easy 1-2-3 inning for Munoz's 11th save of the season. So nice job by the pitching staff, to lock it down and help the team get the W. Let's move on to the offense. J.P. Crawford with a huge hit in the bottom of the 7th. He was 1 for 4, 2 RBIs. In the bottom of the 7th there, when the Mariners scored their 2 runs, they loaded up the bases, nobody out. Canzone had a double. Ford blooped in a single that I thought Canzone had a really tough read on that. I actually thought he could have scored, but he held up. It looked like it was clearly going to drop in, but Canzone held up on. I thought that was a bit of a bad read by Canzone. That put runners at the corners. Dylan Moore walked on 4 pitches. And then you had Rojas, JP, and Gino coming up against Kirby Snead, the lefty. Rojas struck out on 3 pitches. Really bad at-bat for Josh Rojas, who's been great. Tough at-bat there against the lefty. So you got 1 out, and JP against the lefty there. JP had looked a little banged up yesterday, so you're a little worried about that at-bat there, but nice job by JP to flare one into left field for a 2-run single, which essentially wins the game for the Mariners. You can see in that inning, obviously this team misses Julio. There is zero doubt about that. But they also miss Tom Murphy. I've said that a bunch in the past few games. They got through it. JP delivered the big hit. That's awesome. They got the dub. But you can see there where you'd like to have Murphy there to pinch hit for Rojas. Or even, I said yesterday, I wouldn't be against them putting in a claim for Randall Grichuk. I don't even know if that stuff's happened yet, and the Mariners are so far down the pecking order. The good news is that, a lot of the bottom feeder teams aren't going to put in claims for Randall Grichuk, so he's probably going to get to middle of the pack. It would just be a nice right-handed bat. You saw some spots where he could have been useful today. Now, getting Julio back and getting Murphy back is going to be more important for that. And I'm not going to lose sleep if they don't get Grichuk, but it wouldn't be a bad guy to add that could come into those spots and get that at bat against a lefty, or it forces the other team to make a pitching change there. The Mariners also did bring back an old friend, Luis Torrens. He is going to debut in Tacoma on Friday. I'm hoping that just means that you got to get Brian O'Keefe out of there. I'm hoping that doesn't mean anything more serious for Tom Murphy, because they really need Murphy back. It's a big boost. But if it's between O'Keefe and Torrens, I'll take Luis Torrens. And then Kelenic begins his rehab assignment tomorrow as well. So hopefully some reinforcements on the way here for the Mariners. Gino was 1 for 3 with a walk. His walk started the 3rd inning when they scored the 3 runs on the Teo home run. Cal was 1 for 4 with a double. Teoscar Hernandez 1 for 4 with a 3-run home run. Maybe the most important home run of the season. Listen, had the Mariners lost this game, do I think their season was over? Of course not. Not at all. There's still 29 games to go. Everything still would have been in front of them. I was actually, when they got down 3-0, I had my post-game brewing in my head. I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about? Like, we got to take a deep breath. It stinks that they could lose 2 out of 3 to Oakland, but everything's in front of them. They still got a good shot here. It's probably going to come down those last 10 games with Houston and Texas, so deep breath. And then Teo hits that 3-run bomb and just changes the course of that game. That may be a home run we look back on as the most important of this season. And I say most important because it's probably going to get forgotten a little bit as we go through the dog. We're way past the dog days. Now we're in the stretch run. But as we go through that Texas and Houston gauntlet, as we play the Dodgers, as we embark on, I shouldn't say we, I'm not a part of the team. I always say we, I know some people don't like that. I just mean us as fans going through it. It's going to be a tough 10-game road trip coming up. It's probably going to be forgotten, but that was a huge, huge moment for the Mariners. If they don't score there, I don't think they win this baseball. I mean, duh. But you know what I mean? I don't think they come back from those 3 runs if they don't get something there. So that was a huge home run for Teoscar. Again, would the season have been over had they lost this game? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're still in great position to make the playoffs, win the division and everything. But man, would it have been a letdown for have this amazing month and then finish it off with a series loss to Oakland. So really good to see from Teoscar Hernandez there. Ty was 0 for 3 with the walk. Not going to get on Ty too much with that wrist contusion and everything. He could just been a little sore and push through it. Dom Canzone was 1 for 4 with a double. Good to see him get that double off a lefty. It started the 7th inning rally, which later led to the winning runs. Mike Ford was 1 for 2. That one was a big bloop hit. They needed it. Caballero pinch ran and scored. Good call by Scott to have Cabby pinch run because Mike Ford probably does not score on that JP blooper. Dylan Moore 0 for 2 with a walk and Josh Rojas 0 for 3. Not a lot to talk about on the offensive end. Again, not their greatest triumph of all time, but it's a W. It's a W, and I feel like a broken record sometimes, but you need wins. You got 29 games left. I kind of think 94 is the magic number for the division. That's 18. That's 18 and 11. They're not all going to be pretty. They are not all going to be pretty. And listen, you did this without Julio. You did this without George Kirby pinching in game 2. So, nice to see them. Nice to see them get the win. Big road trip coming up, 10-game road trip, a tough road trip coming up. You got the Mets, the Reds, and the Rays. We know the Rays are a really good team. That they're certainly not quite as formidable without McClanahan and Franco, but that's still a good baseball club. The Reds are feisty. The Mets, the first team you play, are not good, but they're not Royals, A's, White Sox bad either. They're a competitive team. Like they have Lindor, they have Pete Alonso, Nimmo, McNeil. Senga's going to pitch on Friday. Like, they've got some weapons that can give you a tough time. They're beating Texas 3-0 right now, which would be awesome to see. So the Mariners kind of finish up their easy gauntlet. They had Kansas City. They did have Houston in there. They had that Kansas City, Chicago, Oakland, or Kansas City, Chicago, Kansas City, Oakland run. And they end up going, 3-1, 5-2, 8-2, 10-3 over those 13. They did their jobs. Sweep would have been great, but listen, they're 9-1 against Oakland. I don't care how bad Oakland is. It's really hard to go 10-0 against anybody in baseball. Really hard to do that. Big road trip coming up. I think it's going to be a tougher road trip than some people think. So going to have to, hunker down here and get some W's. Got to find a way. Just got to find a way to get through it. The nice thing is in New York, should have Kirby Castillo and Logan going, so that should be a big help. You got your big 3 going in that game, so that should definitely make you the favorites in that series. So here we go. We're into September. Well, are we in September now? August 3rd? Yeah, the next game will be September 1st. Here we go. September call-ups on Friday as well, so good chance we see I miss the days of when you used to be able to bring up 35, 40 players. That would have been nice for the bullpen, but we'll likely see Sam Haggerty and a pitcher, probably Bizardo or who else was I thinking could come up? Why am I blanking? But someone like that, likely coming up out of the bullpen to give an extra arm. So that'll help. And Haggerty will be nice to have as sort of a super utility guy as well, especially, maybe with Julio down. Now, that's the other thing, the Julio injury. A little nervous just because Julio seemed kind of frustrated about it. Talked about getting a second opinion or some extra treatment. That's all fine. I just hope it doesn't lead to anything where it's an IL stint because man, this team cannot afford to lose Julio. They cannot afford not to have Julio. You saw what it did to them against Oakland. I mean, in the two games that they fought and fought just to go 1-1 against Oakland in these two games. Now, if Castillo, Kirby, and Logan were on the mound, it may have been a little different, but it was tough without Julio. So hopefully, fingers crossed that everything's okay. It's just a little, I think it was like a pinched nerve in his foot. Hopefully having 3 days off will help. That's another good reason for the day off tomorrow. I forgot to mention that earlier, is to get Julio that extra rest for the team as well. So here we go. Buckle up. It's going to be fun. Listen, guys, I know they won, so we'll move on. But even if they had lost, the highs are going to be high. The lows are going to be low. There's not a single loss the rest of the way that's not going to hurt this team. I can promise you, they're all going to hurt. They're not going to win all 29. They're not. They're not going to go 10-0 on this road trip. Maybe they do after I say that, but they're not. There's going to be some losses in there. You just have to push through them. The losses just can't kill you. You can't let it snowball into more and more losses. Kind of what I was talking about yesterday. Losing to Oakland stinks, but if it's one loss, it's one loss. It's when you start accumulating those losses is when it really adds up and becomes an issue. So it's going to be a fun ride. We're like I said, don't. The highs are going to be high, the lows are going to be low, but I'm going to be here through it all. I hope get you guys through it as best I can. Let's go get that AL West. Let's go get the Mets can finish off Texas tonight. The Mariners are tied with Houston, but they have the tiebreaker, so Mariners will be in first all by themselves. They're 4.5 games clear of a playoff spot. I know the standings say 3.5, but they have the tiebreaker over the Blue Jays, so it is 4.5. Man, if you would have told me 3 weeks ago, a month ago, that going into September, the Mariners are going to be in first place, and they're going to be 4.5 games clear of a playoff spot, I would have said, can I get some of what you're smoking there? And yet here we are. Let's buckle up, tridents up. Let's have a great, great September. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. Me and Rooftop, I think, are going to do like a little September preview for the Mariners, solve that up, and then I'll obviously see you guys on Friday as well. So take care, everybody. Have a great night. And as always, go first place. Well, I shouldn't say it yet because it's not official, but at least tied. So yeah, go first place, Mariners. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.